It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. We're just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
I just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.
Oh, like JJ Watt said, it really is the best time of the year. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to It's Just Football. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Mike Renner. Joining you guys on a post-Thursday Night Football edition of the show. First one of the year. We got real football to analyze, Mike. How's it feel?
If you can call that real football with the Rams play.
Come on.
I know. It was a dud. It was kind of a dud, right? Like, I was hyped, and the first half was great, but then Von Miller took over. Like, the Rams' offensive line looked like a problem for them in that game. That was not because the Bills, I mean, the good front four, that's not an elite front four, though. If you're having problems with that.
It is a good front four.
That's what you said. I just said it's a good front four. It's not an elite front four. If you're having problems with them, there are going to be other teams around the NFL they're going to have problems with, too.
I don't know. If Boogie Baxter plays that well, if Greg Rousseau plays that well, and obviously if Von Miller plays that well, maybe we will be talking about this Bills front four as an elite front four. So obviously, guys, the Buffalo Bills take down the Los Angeles Rams by a score of 31-10 last night. We're here to talk about all of the best sights, sounds, and stats from that game. Plus, we're going to preview a lot of things that we got going on this weekend as well. We're going to give you our final fantasy picks of the week. We'll have Ian Hartitz on the show later. So make sure you guys get your start-sit questions in your head, because when we bring Ian on, Mike and I got a couple of start-sit fantasy questions for him, but we want to hear from you guys as well. We'll open up the chat. I'll give you the opportunity to ask him a couple of start-sit fantasy decisions that you guys have. I want to go to the boys behind the glass, specifically Quinn, because I want to ask him about last night. You are a Bengals fan, and you had to watch Matthew Stafford take down your Bengals in the Super Bowl. How did it feel watching him play like absolute poop instead one game later to start the season?
I don't want to say I feel vindicated, but a lot of people were saying like the Bengals are going to be the team that has the Super Bowl hangover, and obviously they haven't played yet, so I don't want to put the cart before the horse. But
that's what we do on the show.
Do the Rams maybe have a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover? I don't know.
Look, what did you have the Rams? We did the season predictions yesterday. Would you have the Rams? I had them 9-8.
10 wins. Yeah. So
I'm 9-8. Like,
borderline playoff, wild card.
The Rams, I don't think people realize that, like, Stafford was very up and down last year. He led the league
in picks.
He led the league in picks. Yeah. Last night he had 3 interceptions. And it's funny, you walked into the building and you're basically like, how about that game? And you were like, oh, it was a stinker. And I was like, well, maybe if Matthew Stafford was actually looking where he was going to pass, maybe it would have been such a bad game.
But then he wouldn't have a cool Instagram clip after the game if he's looking where he's passing.
That's true.
Right? You got to think about that aspect.
That's true.
I also will say, arm concerns, we talked, gave our concerns, elbow, 1 to 10. I was around a 2 or 3. I think I'm up to like a 6 or a 7. I do think his motion looked different at times yesterday, and chalk it up to, maybe trying to account for elbow pain, because he missed some bad throws. But he played bad.
As that game was going on, I was like, I don't know how much I would put this on the elbow. I feel like this is just kind of Stafford, right? I mean, he was doing all these like trick shots and things like that, and it was too much yesterday. It was almost like he just thought he could get away with too much. But as the game went on, there were a couple of throws where his throwing motion was a little wonky, and I was like, are you compensating for something here? Because let me tell you, the more people came out and were like, no, Stafford's elbow is fine. No, it's fine. I mean, we were just joking like a month ago saying that he was in pain. It was like, okay, sure. I guess if you say it one more time, we'll believe you. It was like one of those things. And so, reared its ugly head last night for the Rams. They did not look good. Straight up. Coming out of the gate, getting the rings, the ceremony that night, that team was not where where they needed to be. Yeah,
it's like objectively look up and down that roster. Where were there areas to be excited about? There weren't a lot. We had questions marks about the offensive line. How is Joseph Noteboom going to fill in for Andrew Whitworth?
Not great.
Multiple sacks allowed.
Not great.
How is this interior going to fare? And hilariously, we called out Coleman Shelton, who ended up having the highest grade of all of them on that offensive line. But the other guys, David Edwards, got one of the worst pass blocking grades I've ever seen. I think it was below 10 in this game. So
he got a below 10 grade?
It was below 10 pass blocking. It was just an ugly night for that Rams offensive line. And going forward, that's going to be an issue. Defense side of the ball, you ran into a buzzsaw. Josh Allen's going to do that to a lot of teams.
Right.
So
he is.
you can't be too concerned there. But the offense is where I'd be worried, because that's where you're going to have to be at the highest level to compete in the NFL nowadays offensively to win a championship. And I worry about them taking a step back.
We're starting off talking about the Los Angeles Rams, and some people are probably like, talk about the Bills. The Bills were good. We're going to talk about the Bills the majority of the time because they were good. So I wanted to at least get some Rams talk out there. You say, what can you look forward to as a Rams fan? If you're a Cooper Kupp owner in fantasy, the man's probably going to get 18 targets a game.
Who could have seen that coming, right?
Look, we knew they were going to emphasize
shit.
Cooper Kupp, but the way they did,
I know.
I mean, look. They force-fed that man so much. And you know what? It's, Allen Robinson also put on a show last night, an absolute beauty of a game. Actually, somebody on Twitter made a highlight reel of Allen Robinson and his first performance with the Los Angeles Rams, and it's pretty sick. This is a pretty sick highlight, I'm not going to lie.
You ready?
See, this is where it gets good right here.
Let's go.
And we got around, the rights issues there with Allen Robinson's highlights. That's good for us.
So obviously,
video rights.
That was one of my favorite clips that was that was on Twitter, that was floating around after the game. I want to give a shout out to who made it. At RyB_311. We wanted to make sure that we gave you a shout out because I laughed hard at that one. But in all seriousness,
because Austin Gale, former PFF employee, was at Rams camp, and he's like, dude, big year for Allen Robinson incoming.
No,
he was buying the Kool-Aid. And now, obviously, it's one game, but not a good start.
Dude, in all
Stafford
seriousness,
wouldn't even look his way.
48 snaps on the field, one catch, 12 yards for Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
We knew he was going to look Cooper Kupp's way, but it was as if Stafford didn't even trust anybody else on the team. Tutu Atwell got a target, I think, before Allen Robinson did, or at least not shortly after. They were tied in targets at one point. What are you doing? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'd be a little bit worried. The Rams came out, and it did not seem like they knew what they wanted their identity to be, and that they kind of went into the year with their offensive line. They thought they were going to be okay, and they absolutely were not. And it just looked like Stafford did not have trust with anybody that was not named Cooper Kupp.
Should I share the text that Austin sent me about Tutu Atwell during the game? He just said, just unsolicitedly sent me poo-poo Atwell. That's what he sent me. Classic stuff there.
Just, that's some classic tailgate manner that we needed here on the show to start things off. So, all right, let's go to the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk about some good things that happened in this game, because the Bills scored 31 points, and honestly, Mike, felt like it could have been 45. It felt like they could have broken that 40 mark and really poured it on had it not been for those couple of interceptions that Josh Allen threw. Gabe Davis, man. I know fantasy people out there were thinking that Gabe Davis was going to be able to step up, third on the team in targets last year, but no Cole Beasley, no Emmanuel Sanders this year, so a lot of targets to go around. This man put on an absolute show. Scored the first touchdown of the NFL season for the Bills, and it was a beauty. It was an absolute beauty of a first drive there. But let me tell you why it happened. It's because he was wearing Peaky Blinders cleats before the game.
Those are pretty sick cleats.
If y'all didn't see these, this is why it happened, folks.
I will say, I have not watched all of Peaky Blinders. I think I've watched probably like 4 episodes. It's on my list. I'm going to get to it at some point. I've heard it's a great show.
Brother,
but is there a show that you would feel strongly enough that you would rock? Because I've never seen someone rep a TV show on their cleats. Like, I've seen movies.
I do Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones themed?
I do Game of Thrones.
I would probably do like Seinfeld themed. No, SpongeBob. SpongeBob theme would be cool.
Joe Burrow beat you to that.
Somebody did it last year.
Yeah,
right,
I'm pretty sure Joe Burrow did that. He had a SpongeBob tie. I think he had SpongeBob shoes. Yeah, Joe Burrow's a big SpongeBob guy.
I mean, who isn't?
Yeah.
Kindred
spirits, me and Joe Burrow.
If you didn't like SpongeBob, I can't trust you.
Yeah.
I really cannot trust you. So that's why we think that Gabe Davis. I said Dave Davis. Great start to this Friday show, Trey. Good job. He had 4 catches on 5 targets, had 88 yards and a touchdown. A perfect passer rating when targeted.
Yeah.
This dude is gonna be Josh Allen's best friend this season.
And a little different than what they've had, right? You know, he obviously didn't need contested catches yesterday, but he has that ability, kind of that, Gabe Davis is down there somewhere. Like, to kind of throw it up, let him come down with it, that can take advantage of Josh Allen's arm. Like, he was a deep threat at UCF coming out. He ran the vertical route tree consistently. And so I think you're going to see, despite, 6'3", 212-pound guys usually not being your vertical threats, I think that's what Gabe Davis is going to be in this offense.
Somebody says Seinfeld cleats. So
Seinfeld's rips. That's what I said, yeah.
Okay. All right. Somebody else said, wanted to shout out Dan Gamache, who was the one who made the cleats. That's what he does. He does those custom cleats for a living. So incredible job by Dan getting those cleats out there too. Gabe Davis, obviously the reason why he was able to start so well. Couldn't have been anything else. As for the guy going up on the other, well, I don't want to say going up against, but on the other side, Stefon Diggs. Dude, that combo was lethal. We already knew that Josh Allen to Stefon Diggs was going to be one of the best quarterback wide receiver duos in the NFL, but what a hell of a start it was for them. And again, I think it started pregame. If you guys would have seen this clip, you could have got all of your bets in right before kickoff and known that Diggs was going to hit the over on his receiving total. Look how smooth this is.
Yeah, that's cool.
They got different. It's the two finger going to the one finger, then the lock, then the up. Dude, it's confident.
A lot of handshakes I think are lame. I'm not like a fan of handshakes on the whole because a lot of low effort, a lot of that one's impressive. That one takes some skill.
Dude, they're not even looking
and
at
the way
each
they
other.
do it, I'm impressed. That one has some juice to it. So big fan. And Stefon Diggs, we kind of said this earlier in the week, right? Or at least I did, in terms of everyone's hyping up Gabe Davis and thought it was going to come at like the detriment of Stefon Diggs. I was like, no, Diggs is still going to get his. Diggs still could be like offensive player of the year good, lead the NFL in receiving yards kind of good. And I think we saw that in week 1.
And I think the Bills are at the point where it almost doesn't even matter at this point, right? They just want the guys out there on the field that they know can make plays, right? We talked about Dawson Knox signing that big extension. Okay, where are the targets coming from? Are you going to be able to utilize him a lot? He wasn't utilized nearly as much as maybe some would have thought right out of the gate for this game. It was still heavy emphasis on Gabe Davis, on Stefon Diggs. But that's okay. Yeah. They still want Dawson Knox on that team because the Buffalo Bills are at that point. Just get as much talent as you possibly can. They're a legit Super Bowl contender. So even if Knox or whoever it is, receivers that aren't those top 2 guys, aren't getting a ton of looks, the fact that they're on the team, those handful of plays that they're going to have, I think are going to make all the difference in the world.
That's the thing. That's what we keep pushing the sort of narrative for here at PFF is get the options offensively. Get as many options as possible because there will come a time where maybe you run into a couple good corners that are going to take away Gabe Davis and Stefon Diggs. You ran into one good corner. So maybe you run into a team that has a complete secondary, and all of a sudden you got your mismatches against linebackers. Then Dawson Knox goes off. So that's what makes the Bills so scary is the fact that you can have one of these highly paid weapons do very little in a game and still blow out the reigning Super Bowl champs.
PFF grading handshakes now. We have that in the chat. I mean, yeah. I'd give it a 92.3.
That's a low 90s, yeah.
Yeah, I'd give it a 92.3.
That's an elite.
I'd say that was an elite grade, especially because of the trick shot that he had there. When targeting Stefon Diggs, I wanted to mention, this is Josh Allen's stats for him. He had eight catches on 9 targets, 122 yards, and 1 touchdown. This is Stefon Diggs. 155.8 passer rating, which is damn near perfect. 9 out of 9 on catchable passes thrown his way. There was 1 drop by Diggs. 30% threat rating means that basically 1/3 of the time that Diggs is on the field running a receiving route, he is getting the looks. 30% is really high for an offense that can spread it around like that.
30%, you're going to have 1 or 2 receivers a year notch the 30%. That is a focal point. You're getting 150 targets a year if you're getting a 30% target rate.
I think because of all that Buffalo Bills success, you saw even Odell Beckham Jr. give a little bit of respect, maybe too much respect to the Buffalo Bills. He tweeted after the game, obviously this is the guy who won a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams the year before. He was in the house, in Rams colors, getting his Super Bowl ring, watching the banner go up, there for that ceremony. And, well, maybe he had a little bit of regrets. Maybe he's thinking about switching sides a little bit. Sheesh, Bills Mafia. So there were already rumors. Von Miller was trying to get Odell to sign with the Bills before the season. So maybe this game actually helps their cause.
See, I'll tell you exactly what this is. This is Odell. People haven't talked about him in a minute. And he knew that he tweets this, he is going to generate a headline. That's all this is. That is Odell, prime performance from him, doing what he does best. And that's generating headlines. He's not a zero fucking chance to go to this Bills Mafia. I'll say it right now. He's just trying to get his name up.
You know what Odell should be doing? He should be treating this like a 5-star recruit in high school. Okay, take all the official visits. But you know what I'm saying? Like he should go to a Denver Broncos game next, and he's on the sideline in Denver Broncos colors for like a big Denver Broncos home game. And then we have this Instagram live ceremony where he has hats on a table and he picks where he's going to sign in December when his knee is healed.
I mean,
come on,
this is probably what he's going to do.
You'd watch it.
Honestly,
You'd watch it.
Knowing Odell, this is what's going to happen. I don't think that's crazy take at all.
I'd watch it. Yeah. It's entertainment value. Let's get to some stats that actually matter, right? Because it was actually funny. Last night at the timeline, it was a perfect time to pump up PFF a little bit, puff up our chest, because very early in the game, we had that first Josh Allen interception off of the hands of Isaiah McKenzie, and it goes straight into, it wasn't Bobby Wagner. Who was it? I can't remember who it was who intercepted that pass. Terrell Lewis, thank you, who was right there to intercept the ball. And that, in common stats, goes against Josh Allen. It counts as an interception. It was a takeaway. But we all know that wasn't Josh Allen's fault. It went right off of Isaiah McKenzie's hands, right off his chest, and popped right in the air. So let's talk about some stats that actually matter here on PFF. Let's get to that part of it. The first one that I have here, stats that actually matter. When targeting both Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, Josh Allen had a near perfect passer rating. We mentioned it a little bit before, but 158.3 for Gabe Davis, 155.6 is what it ended up being for Stephon Diggs. Mike, that's terrifying, man. All of those catchable passes right to those guys. If Josh Allen was playing that pinpoint, defenses are in trouble, man.
Well, the thing is, I don't even know if it was that pinpoint. You think about a lot of their big plays. Busted, like Gabe Davis wide open, first touchdown of the game. Stephon Diggs wide open, Jalen Ramsey forgets about him, running right past him. And then Gabe Davis deep down the middle of the field wide open with a massive window. Like that's why, that's how you get a perfect passer rating. That's how you kind of get a foolproof offense that if you're going to scheme, Ken Dorsey deserves a ton of credit for this in the very first game. If you're going to scheme those guys, those kind of looks, Josh Allen's going to absolutely demolish you because with his arm, with his ability to escape, the big plays are just going to come in waves, as you saw last year in the playoffs and now week one.
If you have a Josh Allen MVP ticket, you got to be feeling good, especially because he has that good of a connection with his wide receivers right out of the gate against a cornerback like Jalen Ramsey, who we are going to talk about here in a second. The next stat that I have on here, this is probably the biggest one of stats that matter. Bills had a team pass rush grade of 88, okay, which is pretty damn good. Full team pass rush rate of 88. Didn't blitz once. Nearly a damn near elite PFF pass rushing grade. Didn't blitz one time. 7 sacks, 27 pressures, 78% pass rush win rate with 4. With 4 guys. The Buffalo Bills have done an incredible job. Hats off to Brandon Beane and what that team is building there, of emphasizing those front 4 guys. Jordan Phillips had the best pass rush grade of his entire career, the interior defensive line.
Where'd that come from? That was wild.
Von Miller looked like he was 26-year-old Von Miller out there, okay? Greg Rousseau looked like he took that next step. Boogie Basham looked like he took that next step. And that was even with Ed Oliver hurt throughout the game, rotating in and out a little bit there. So, man, it's just when you can get that kind of pressure with just 4, think of how good that Bills secondary was last year and how much better it's even going to get when they get Trey White back. That's, to me, that was the stat that mattered the most. If the Bills can get home with 4, oh, man, the rest of the league's in trouble, man.
Yeah, Von aging like a fine wine. 4 pressures yesterday, 2 sacks. Jordan Phillips, 6 pressures. I don't know where the hell that came from. I don't think you can rely on that consistently.
Rejuvenated,
that's the best game of his entire NFL career here. But I will say this about the Bills' defensive line. I call them good, not elite. They have elite depth. They go as deep as any team in the NFL and guys they can throw at you, whether it is Boogie Basham, whether it is Greg Rousseau, whether it's like a number of guys, AJ Epinesa, that they can throw out at you that may not necessarily be your full-time, maybe elite starters that you're thinking of, top 10, top 20 at their respective positions. But if they're fresh, they're going to be pretty damn good. They're going to be impacting the passer, and those guys are always going to stay fresh because they're going to rotate them in and out.
Last stat that actually mattered here. Josh Allen, average time to throw of 2.43 versus the Rams, would have been the second fastest in the NFL last season, behind only Ben Roethlisberger, who the Steelers' offensive line was so bad and his arm was so cooked. They were literally just running the shortest of routes for him to
trying not to
fire it off immediately. Man, and the reason why that quick of a time to throw and that kind of efficiency, he almost averaged 10 yards to throw while still getting it out. 2.43 seconds. That to me is crazy. Defenses are going to try to live in too high when they're playing up against the Buffalo Bills. And Josh Allen showed that if you're going to play too high against him, if you're going to basically dare these freaks with these just giant cannons for arms to beat you underneath, Josh Allen can beat you underneath. He showed that patience. He showed that accuracy. That, again, is a scary thing for the Bills.
Yeah, because they're going to see a lot. I mean, truthfully, they're going to see a ton of too high coverages. They're going to see the Mahomes, blueprint that we saw last year because of, one, the talent they have at wide receiver, and two, because Josh Allen's arm talent. The ability to attack down the football field. So they're going to see a lot of teams trying to cap you. And then when that happens, Josh Allen all of a sudden turns into like Tom Brady in the quick passing game yesterday. Like if he can make those kind of strides in that area as a passer, there's just no way to defend this offense. There's just not going to be a way to defend this offense. You better be supremely talented. There's no blueprint on what to do against this Buffalo Bills team.
Let's talk about a matchup that was a key one going into the game that ended up being extremely one-sided. It was one of the worst coverage games of Jalen Ramsey's talented career, man.
Yeah, a little lackadaisical. Like it wasn't Jalen Ramsey necessarily being cooked or getting cooked by Stefon Diggs, but just loses track of him.
Yeah,
lose track of him. Gets sold on the run fake and the Gabe Davis touchdown early in the game. Like a number of plays where it's just uncharacteristic. So I'm not worried about Ramsey long term, but he did not show up to play.
It was just very strange. It was very strange. We've got some of the coverage grades and what the final stats were for Ramsey when he was going up against Diggs, and then just how he was overall. 47 coverage grade overall. I think that got bumped up a little bit to the low 50s actually right before we started the show. But over 100 passing yards allowed, 2 TDs allowed on him, 4 first downs, perfect passer rating when he was targeted. That's just overall. And then versus Diggs specifically, targeted 3 times, gave up 2 catches, 63 yards, and one of them was that 53-yard touchdown, which, dude, it just looked so strange. It looked like they were playing quarter, half coverage, but there were 2 guys on his side of the field. He knew that both of them were going vertical. I didn't even know what he was looking at.
He honestly, what it was he crashed 3 years ago. That's what it was. He was still thinking, this guy's not going to hit that window, even though it's a fucking massive window on the football field. He just let Stefon Diggs run right past him. It was pretty brutal.
That was just the strangest thing. Here's the beautiful back shoulder. You guys can see that right there.
That one's just 2 god tier wide receiver quarterback combo.
It was filthy.
You ain't stopping that.
Filthy.
That's why it's the toughest route to defend in the NFL.
It is. If you can hit that
placed
with the timing, the velocity, the accuracy, and then Diggs, just as a route runner, an artist, he is so good with it. He never gives anything away with his hips, with his shoulders, anything. He's trying to manipulate you with the head fakes and where the hands are moving. It's just it's a masterclass, and it was a masterclass. It felt like from the Buffalo Bills. I want to turn my attention to the Los Angeles Rams a little bit, and you touched on their offensive line, the offensive line woes. I mean, are they about to call Andrew Whitworth back and be like, buddy, we miss you? Are they about to call, I don't know, Ali Marpet up and just say, hey, bud, can you gain 50 more pounds? I know you're retired. Come in and play interior offensive line. I don't know. I'm joking, obviously, about both of those, one more so than the other. But what do the Rams do?
There is no options. That is it. Go out and find veterans, but you pay Joseph Noteboom too much money, and you're paying Rob Havenstein too much money to go out and get another guy to replace them. Joseph Noteboom's making over $10 million a year. They just signed him this offseason. And he played better than that last year. And Von Miller's about as tough a matchup as you'll see in the NFL. It's not going to be like that every single week. But I'm more worried about this interior because those guys have never been high-level performers on the interior, and you are thin. You are dangerously thin. The backups on this, Tremaine Ankrum, Bobby Evans, A.J. Jackson, your backups on this roster are not guys you want seeing the football field at all. So there's really no answers. McVay's just going to have to scheme around it. He's just going to have to know that sometime when we face a good D-line, there's probably going to be mismatches up and down that we have to scheme for.
Somebody in the chat said Mike would have kept Stefon Diggs to a max of 30 yards, strapped in coverage.
He said it, not me, but I'm not going to disagree.
This is a bad bit that we have on this show. Is actually pumping you up to think that there's any way that would be possible. I didn't even think that the secondary played that bad for the Rams last night. Yeah, it was a little exposing. Bobby Wagner.
I said it, right? He was not. not the same. We've watched it last year. It wasn't bad by any means. But Bobby Wagner is known for just, taking over football games in the linebacker position.
Yeah.
Like not being out of position, not missing tackles, being that guy, and just he's not. And if you're not that caliber of linebacker anymore, you're just not making an impact on this roster. Like I just don't foresee him being the upgrade that everyone hoped for. His contract may have suggested when they signed him, the big figure, but obviously it wasn't quite the $10 million a year.
Do you have any immediate overreaction takes when it comes to the outlook on the Los Angeles Rams this year? You said that they'd win 10 wins, they'd have 10 wins on yesterday's show. I said 9. I mean, does this loss and how it came about change anything for you here?
I think it does a little. It makes the Cardinals more in play in the West than I probably would previously give them the credit for. I think when I was going through that, I gave the Rams 2 wins against the Cardinals when they went up head-to-head. I think the Cardinals could easily hang with this Rams team. And it goes back to the offensive line. That was about as bad. That was the worst performance we've seen from a Rams offensive line in a few years, So that, to me, is like always been a given in the McVay era. O-line's going to do their job. Not having that, very worrisome. Earpiece came out. And it's back in.
Technical difficulties. Justice said, Rams are like the Chiefs, no secondary, so they're going to rely on a nobody receiving crew to keep up with the big weapons and teams like the Bengals and the Bills. I mean, I would say the Rams have no secondary. Yeah. I think they're talented. Troy Hill's super talented. I like Jordan Fuller. I like Taylor Rapp. They have Jalen Ramsey.
In the NFL.
I mean, I don't think the secondary group is bad, and I think that's also a major takeaway. That's just how good the Bills were. Mm-hmm. We were kind of poking fun at literally everyone picking the Bills to make it to the Super Bowl. But shit, man. After last night, that only looks a lot stronger when you go up against a secondary group that was like that. Brock said that Mike is prime Revis. Okay, that might be a little far. No, you think you're right?
I said it is him. Yeah, I've been described as him before.
That he said is him. Bonkers. We have a reverse bonkers take.
Wagner was not.
Wagner is not bonkers. So that is the bonkers take. Well, maybe it's the bonkers take. We might need another bonkers take, but Wagner is not bonkers. That was our official bonkers take right there. So
they can't blame Wagner for this loss. That's for sure. Walt said that. We're not blaming him whatsoever. We're just saying he is not the guy who's going to change a game in their favor. It's just, if that's where you're still thinking you're getting at, I think you'll be disappointed.
All right, let's look ahead a little bit. We've spent plenty of time talking about this game. Let's look ahead. Let's talk about some bold predictions for some games that we have left coming up this weekend. And there's a lot to look forward to. We've touched on a lot of them from a betting perspective. Some of the information that we'll give you here, we're going to touch on betting as well. But we wanted to have some fun, come up with some, superlatives, like games we're looking forward to, highest scoring game, best matchup, wide receiver going off, whatever it was. Mike, what's a first bold prediction that you have for this week, a matchup, a game, something?
I'm going to go Joe Flacco.
Always a good start.
Plays well against Baltimore Ravens. I think this Jets roster, on the offensive side of the football at the very least, is very, very good. I think they have a lot of weapons to attack. They have a lot of different options, especially in this receiving core that goes like 5 deep in guys that you can throw out there. Denzel Mims had a hell of a preseason, and he may not even see the field. So I think with that caliber of receivers and an offensive line with Dwayne Brown that still should be good, even if Mekhi Becton's not in there, I think it puts up points in the Ravens. Maybe they not enough to win the game, but
they're getting 7.
I think the Jets make some noise, which is not a take, but okay. I think Flacco plays well. Flacco plays well.
I was going to say that's an Eric Eager level take, because on the NFL pregame show last year, Eric's bold prediction, I can't remember exactly what we called the segment, but his bold prediction was that the Jets will be competitive.
Ooh.
And it was soft. It was soft from Eric.
They'll play football.
You make a take. And Eric's normally great at making takes, so we had to roast him for it because he doesn't do that.
Gooey, I think is how Eric described it.
Eric does loving you to use the word gooey to talk about soft matchups. Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I get to use that more now that I know that you actually hate the word gooey. It's like moist for some people.
Yeah.
Some people
I don't mind moist, but gooey
I don't either.
Tough.
All right, well, we got another gooey Matt. No, I'm kidding. We don't. Well, a superlative game that I have, the first one that I want to point out, I'm going to call this the 4th of July game.
Okay.
Because there are going to be a lot of fireworks in this one. Give me a lot of firepower. I've talked about this a lot. Bucks versus Cowboys. When you look at these two teams back in 2021, Bucks EPA per play, 0.09, which was third in the NFL, and then plays in which they had a positive EPA per play percentage, 49%. So you'd figure those would probably be hand in hand, but that's second in the NFL. Cowboys on the flip side, they were right behind him in both of those. EPA per play, they were fourth, and then percentage of positive EPA per play. Snaps, they were 48%. So these were top 5 offenses last year going up against each other. Over-under is 50.5. I've said it all week. I'm taking the over in this one. I get it. There's been changes. Tampa's offensive line's beat up a little bit. The Cowboys don't have exactly the receiving room that they had the year before, but I still think the recipe is there for these two teams to be at the very worst top 10 offenses in the league. Could very well repeat as top 5 offenses. So this is my 4th of July game. I think that the sparks are going to fly, the fireworks are going to happen, and we're going to get a lot of points in this one.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. I think that's one of the best matchups of the weekend, and I will agree with you in that we'll see some fireworks. And I think the Cowboys offense, for, as much as they've lost players and, regression would say they're probably going to get worse this year. I don't think the offense relied on Amari Cooper. Now, Lyle Collins, I think they're going to miss a little bit more than Amari Cooper, and obviously Tyron Smith, they're going to miss a lot. But I don't think this offense was reliant on Amari Cooper's skills. They relied on scheme a lot. And that was kind of the knock on them, and why they weren't impressive down the stretch is because it was all whether Kellen Moore called a good game or not. It wasn't, hey, we got these two dudes on the outside, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, that can win at will. Let's take advantage of that. That really wasn't part of the offense. So even if the receiving core has taken a step back, I still think it's very capable of
I agree.
putting up big numbers in this Bucs team.
I agree. We asked the chat to have some bold predictions for week 1 or just some bold predictions overall. Andrew said Joe Burrow is Case Keenum with a better college career. I felt like a lot of people said that last year, and Joe Burrow kind of shut them the hell up.
Yeah, you're a year late for that take.
I don't know, Andrew. I don't know how many people can be there for you.
Keenum did go to an NFC Championship game. People forget. Not a Super Bowl, though.
Rushman said, I'm going to give you all a lock for the week. Okay?
Let's hear it.
You ready for this one? Denver 50, Seattle 0. It's a lock.
Lock it in.
That means you got to bet the over. That means you got to bet the spread. It means you got to bet basically every Denver player's
under
prop.
on every Seattle Seahawks
prop. Rushman, we might not hear from Rushman because if this actually happens, if it is truly a lock, he might retire just from the chat and his job overall.
My next bold prediction actually has to do with that game, which is I think Russell Wilson gets outplayed by Geno Smith week 1.
What?
I still think Russell Wilson, I'm a little worried about whether he's going to come back to.
Geno Smith level worried? Don't give me. I think Geno is a good quarterback for what he is. I think he's a spot starter. But you really think Russ is going to struggle that much in his debut?
Yeah.
You think Geno Smith's going to outduel him?
I think coming back to Seattle, you have the emotional aspect of it from both sides, from Wilson in his head and the Seahawks in their defense wanting to show up and wanting to shut down Russell Wilson. You saw that whole article come out about the people inside Seahawks front office worrying about how Russell Wilson's game would age. And I do think outside of Patrick Surtain, this secondary, this cornerback group is beatable. And like DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, still a great wide receiver duo that, from what I saw from Geno Smith this preseason, I think he could have a game.
Listen, I have DK Metcalf on my fantasy team. I would love nothing more than for you to be right, but I think you are absolutely out of your mind with that one. If you are right, come on this show on Monday morning and talk your shit.
Well, it's the Monday night game, so.
Tuesday morning, come in, talk your shit. That's what you need to do. My other bold prediction I have, it's a throwback game, okay? I'm calling this one the throwback game. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Not only is it northern Midwest grit kind of football between the Bengals and the Steelers, it's going to be a rainy afternoon in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is where the game is played. We know that the Steelers are not going to be afraid to run the football. They're not going to be afraid to hand that ball off to Najee Harris as much as possible, especially with some unknowns in a quarterback battle that they're just getting over. Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously they've got a more potent passing attack, but I think due to the weather conditions in that game, it's going to be a little bit more of a slugfest. I think because of the weather, you're probably going to lean yourself more towards the Steelers. They're getting 6.5 in this one. So I like the Steelers and the points because of that reason. But I think that this is going to be a throwback game for the ages. It's going to look like 1960 again. We're going to get a lot of run on the football. That's kind of the way that I feel about it.
It is sad that if it is raining, we don't get to see Kenny Pickett play and know if his hand size matters.
Oh, my Lord in heaven.
We could see Joe Burrow, though.
Joe Burrow, the 9 inches.
Joe Burrow does have
hands.
9 inches. But
maybe this is the threshold game.
Yeah.
Maybe this is the true threshold game.
I'm praying that Kenny gets some snaps just in the range, just to feel.
I don't know
just to see how they look. Can you hold a ball?
Just to feel something. I want to hit the chat before we get to our fantasy segment. Matt says Raiders win by double digits. Double digits over the Chargers. Be bold. I like it, Matt. Brock said Kwity Paye dominates Laramie Tunsil on his way to a 2-year breakout. Okay, so that's going to be a great start for Kwity Paye. I know a lot of people really like Kwity Paye as a breakout star going into his second season. How high were you coming on him coming in the draft?
Edge one in that draft.
Oh, so you love it too. All right, that's good. Walt, we got the Walt take. Quarterback Joe Burrow and wide receiver Jamar Chase are the best combo in 2022. Now, the bar is already extremely high with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, but certainly after what they were able to do last year, I don't think that's impossible. We got an update. GS said that Dwayne Brown is likely out for week 1, so the Jets are starting fourth-round rookie Max Mitchell at right tackle.
Oh, at right tackle, and then they're flipping.
I think Fant's playing. Fant's going to play left tackle.
Nice.
I think it's what I read.
Okay. I revoked my take.
Okay, he takes it back already. That lasted long. All right, let's get to a fantasy segment. Let's bring into the show our good friend Ian Hartitz, who is just the wealth of fantasy knowledge that we have here at Pro Football Focus. Ian, oh, dude, look at the background, my guy. Look at this little man cave we got. Ian, how are we feeling on this Friday, man?
You would have no idea it's in my mom's basement. It's going awesome, guys. And I just want to say, shout out Mike with the Geno Smith call. Mainstream media refuses to say that what's happened. This guy's been good the last year and a half. Maybe not 6 years ago, but he was our highest graded passer in the preseason. And okay, if you don't like PFF grades, well, he was 0.1 away from Russell Wilson in QB rating last year. So I think that Geno Smith this year could be bad as opposed to horrific, and DK Metcalf could accordingly do DK Metcalf things.
There we go.
I don't know if I've ever heard anyone in my life speak those words with that much enthusiasm. I think Geno can be bad, and that was the positive part. That was the positive part instead of not being horrendous. We're gonna do a little start-sit exercise here with Ian while he is so gracious to give us some of his time here. If you guys have some start-sit fantasy questions for Ian, fire them off in the chat. We'll see how many we can get to after this. But Ian, my first starter-sit question for you. Michael Thomas, is this an obvious start? Are you worried about him coming back from the injury, getting into things? How confident are you with Michael Thomas here?
We'll see what the final injury designation is, but as long as he's good to go, man, I'm going to go ahead and trust what Nick Underhill and the Saints beat's been saying all season, and that's just that he is back. We got Jameis Winston now, who I think was just put on this planet to get his boys some receptions and then lead an overall mediocre team. So yeah, I know AJ Terrell's going to be on the other side, but that's not going to be an every snap matchup. I mean, last year Justin Jefferson was the only guy to actually get that shadow treatment from Terrell throughout the entire game, and when you get past that, league's reigning worst defense in terms of pressure rate. I don't think really anyone else in that secondary, with all due respect to Casey Hayward, happy 33rd today. Actually, I noticed that yesterday. So maybe Michael Thomas is a little bit banged up. So if he's questionable going into the game, I'd probably be sitting him. But hey, man, if he's good to go, let's get back to the guy that broke the freaking all-time record in 2019 for receptions. As much as we can say, how much did he benefit from Drew Brees, being the most accurate quarterback and this and that, he caught passes from Drew Brees, Teddy Bridgewater, and whatever the hell you want to call Taysom Hill. Can we actually see Michael Thomas now as someone that has even some semblance of arm strength? I'm excited, guys.
Yeah, I'm with you there on the Michael Thomas bounce back year. I want to go to one of the year 2 quarterbacks, Trey Lance, San Francisco 49ers, because his props right now are tough to look at. Under 16.5 is his over-under for completions, 25.5 for pass attempts, and the under Greenline has juice on. So do I start him in fantasy? Is he going to go off as a passer, or do I do it because he can go off as a runner as well?
Yeah, it's just the running, man. We get .04 fantasy points per passing yard. We get .1 per rushing yard. So these dual threat guys, they're just playing a different game. It's the same reason why, the McCaffreys and the receiving running backs of the world, and even last year, the Deebo Samuel, the wide receiver getting the rush attempts. Whenever we have one player getting two different means of production, they're just playing a different game than everyone else in fantasy. So Trey Lance would hardly be the first, mediocre real life quarterback that turns into a great fantasy quarterback we've ever seen. I think Jalen Hurts did it last year. I think Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in their rookie seasons also did it. Obviously, they've come a long way. We'll see if Trey Lance does. But, I think, guys, the rush attempt stuff is just there. We don't see quarterbacks with this bust. Historically, 11 of 12 quarterbacks with at least 125 rush attempts in a season. Top 12 at the position in terms of fantasy points per game. And if there's ever an offense just to make life easy on Lance in terms of getting that yards per attempt up, I think it's one that has guys like Deebo and Brandon Ayuk to just flip the ball 6 inches to and let them do their thing. I'm not sitting here and saying, oh, look at Jimmy G's yards per attempt last year and Trey Lance's. Look at Nick Mullins' yards per attempt from 4 years ago and how many people that he had, drinking that Kool-Aid. So I think Trey Lance can still be a bad passer and still get a bunch of passing yards, which is all we care about in fantasy. Style points do not matter.
Another question that I have is with Amari Cooper. How much faith do you have in Amari Cooper, right? Because it feels like he should be that go-to guy in that Browns offense, but it's no Deshaun Watson, it's Jacoby Brissett. We know they like to run the ball there in Cleveland. What's the outlook here for Amari Cooper, who has for a lot of his career been a fantasy stud? Is he going to be that again? Or are you staying away?
I have a wide receiver 38. I'm starting Devontae Smith, Renfro, Kirk, Drake London, Elijah Moore. 36 other guys, ahead of him this week. So it just comes down to Jacoby Brissett and also the potential for Dante Jackson, I think, to have himself a nice game. So they actually did use Dante a lot in shadow covers last year. Obviously one of the fastest players in the league. And now looking at Cooper, okay, he's coming from the league's reigning #1 scoring offense, now to the Jacoby Brissett-led Browns. Not loving the scoring upside. We got Dante Jackson there, who did a pretty good job in his one-on-one matchups last year, at least not giving up the big plays. Makes sense with how fast he is. Not really expecting this version of Cooper to be taking the top off. And now we're also looking at probably the most run-heavy offense in the entire league. So I don't like the efficiency. I don't really like the matchup. I don't think there's going to be all that much volume for Coop. So, just lost in the entire kind of Baker Mayfield and Carson Wentz just trashing these guys the entire offseason. I think some people actually think that Jacoby Brissett could be equal or better than Baker Mayfield, and I'm not sure who they've been watching over the past few years. I think Jacoby is a fantastic backup quarterback. I hope he plays for another 10 years. I think this passing game is going to be rather atrocious, meanwhile, while he's under center. So only guy in this Browns passing game I'm even considering is really David Njoku.
I'm going to go to the running back position here. I want to hear your takes on the Cowboys backfield because last couple seasons, Ezekiel Elliott has been outgraded by Tony Pollard, despite obviously still being the bell cow there. The undercurrent is trying to get Pollard more touches. Fans want Pollard to get more touches, and they're obviously going up against a damn good run defense in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. Where are you starting or sitting Ezekiel Elliott? Are you buying him still getting the workload that Jerry Jones says he's going to get?
I'm mostly sitting Zeke this week, not much because of Pollard, more so because of their game plan. We saw week 1 last season, the Cowboys threw the ball 58 times against the Buccaneers, and it got a lot of us thinking that was going to be a strategy week in and week out. It turns out they just looked at Vita Vea and all those guys and decided, hey, probably not the best idea to be pounding Zeke into that for 20 plus times. So Zeke had his second most pass protection snaps in that game, and we just didn't see, him have efficiency, which who does against Tampa Bay, and he also didn't have the volume to go along with it. So I'm going to be fading this Zeke this week because I don't think we're going to be getting that same sort of volume that we're used to. Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson, Elijah Mitchell, guys I would all start ahead of Zeke. But Pollard is interesting, guys, because we're all dying for Pollard to take Zeke's place. 90 million reasons why the Cowboys will continue to not do that. Will the Cowboys be stubborn enough, though, to play rookie tight end Jake Ferguson, to play Noah Brown, to play Jalen Tolbert ahead of Tony Pollard, though? Because as much as every offseason we talk about these running backs, playing more out of the slot and stuff, and it's our favorite May storyline, Pollard obviously coming from Memphis as that hybrid wide receiver running back and what we've seen in the NFL, I think he's one of these few running backs that actually could make a living out of the slot, do a lot of the things they're asked to do, and maybe Kellen Moore, who, yeah, if we want to only judge him on his last play of 2021, doesn't look that good, but credit to the man for, leading the league's #1 ranked scoring offense. I do wonder if they now view Tony Pollard as basically a #3 playmaker in that offense behind CeeDee Lamb and, unfortunately, Ezekiel Elliott, because if that's the case, all of a sudden moving forward, I'd be a lot more willing to slide Tony Pollard into that weekly flex conversation.
All right, can we do a handful of rapid fire this or that decisions from the chat? Okay, first one, Christian Kirk or DK Metcalf?
Let's go DK Metcalf. It's so wild, guys, to see DK going outside the top 24 wide receivers. Like, if Stafford's arm fell off, would Cooper Kupp be going outside the top 24? Would Jefferson not be, a top 24 guy without Kirk Cousins? Maybe, but truly, Dynasty football, Metcalf was a top 5 wide receiver last year. Maybe Christian Kirk gets his thing, but I'm riding the talent there.
Hell yeah, I'd love to hear it. Kareem Hunt or Miles Sanders?
I'm riding with Miles Sanders this week. I mean, it's one of these things where throughout the summer we had the hamstring issue. That's now fine. We had to wonder if Jordan Howard was going to be re-signed. He didn't. So now Miles Sanders going up against the Lions defense, PFF, preseason defensive line, linebacker ratings, not good, all the way around for this group. And as much as it's nice hearing Dan Campbell talk and yell and do all these hard knock things, I don't know. I'm not totally convinced that the Lions defense is just overnight going to become this juggernaut. So I think Miles Sanders, we won't be surprised if we look up after the game and see that he had over 20 carries. Guys, 621 days since Miles Sanders has scored a touchdown. He's got to be due. Come on.
That's nuts. Yeah. That's crazy. No, he's 100% due. I'm with you. I'm leaning that one. We got a couple more. Amon-Ra St. Brown or Devontae Smith?
Sun God, baby. I think Sun God could catch freaking 10 passes this week. His reception over-under is only at 5.5. And I know, Darius Slade, James Bradbury, and now they got Gardner Johnson playing safety. The one weak spot, though, was Avonte Maddox in the slot last year. I mean, this was really a bottom 5 defense, explosive pass play rate, yards per attempt, QB rating, 2 wide receivers aligned out of the slot. So maybe they slide Slay in on Amon-Ra, for a couple high leverage snaps. But I just think in full PPR scoring, he's going to have a chance to continue eating those receptions. Sometimes in fantasy, we get upside confused. We think, the guys, the MVSs of the world that can go catch a 50-yard pass in one play. Okay, in standard leagues where you're not getting a full point per reception, that is nice upside to have. But having someone like Amon-Ra St. Brown, might be common sense, but we'll take 10 catches for 100 yards over 5 catches for 100 yards. That's exactly what St. Brown's been doing for the better part of the last half of 2021.
Last one. This one's from Marquise. He said Chase Edmonds or A.J. Dillon for week 1.
Week 1, as long as Chase Edmonds stays off that injury report, he had that groin issue that left him limited. I will be going with Chase Edmonds. Looking like a 2 running back backfield in Miami. Just him and Raheem Mostert really could be featured out there. So Dillon, I feel like I'm a little low on him this week. We'll see. I'd be curious on Mike's stocks, kind of on the Jones-Dillon backfield. Mike, do you think it's going to be just Jones' first drive, like Dillon's second drive, or is Jones going to be the one getting all the pass down reps and Dillon's just more of the early down guy?
I think they're going to interchange them more this year than they ever did in the past. It was a lot of Dillon gets the short yardage, heavy personnel carries. I think it's more just pick a poison because they got to keep both fresh because they only got 2 backs in the roster right now.
Yeah,
Jesus.
There you go. There's the insight from Mike, but more importantly, from our fantasy expert, that is Ian Hart. It's Ian. Thank you so much for joining the show, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Happy week 1.
There it is. Happy week 1. Beautiful words. All right, let's get you guys out of here on this. We end each show trying to get you guys a little bit of money, no matter where we are in the week. It's Friday. Everybody wants a little extra beer money, right? I think
we did well on our bets last night.
We did do well on our bets. Let's take a look at our. What was you? I can't remember what yours was.
The only one I missed, so I hit the under. I had over Stephon Diggs 5.5 receptions, but I did then pick the Rams to cover too.
Oh yeah, that could not be me. That could not be me.
So 2 out of 3.
You got 2 out of 3 there. You got 2 out of 3. I also got 2 out of 3. I had the Bills covering that 2-point favorite. I had Cooper Kupp over 7.5 receptions. I think he hit that at halftime. I think Stephon Diggs did as well. I missed out on the over because the Rams. Can we just the no-look passes? Can we stop? I'm not gonna bet on Stafford anymore because of this no-look BS. You
sound like anyone's dad watching a middle school basketball game. There's the no-look passes. You gotta stop that.
This is fair. That was very boomer old man yells at cloud of me. Damn. I just got put in my place there. So all right, let's give you some new bets. We've got a segment on this show that we are calling $5 Fridays. And we want you guys to do this with us if you have the finances to do it. We don't want to tell anybody how to use their money. Exactly. But if you got a spare $5,
we're not financial advisors,
and you're not the yes, that's very true. And you got a spare $5 to spend this weekend. Have some fun. Throw it on a parlay. Mm-hmm. Don't bet too much money on parlays because they almost never hit. But if they do. They're extremely fun. So we're all gonna put $5 on a parlay. Yeah. So it's gonna be a 3-leg parlay here. Mike, what is your $5 Friday parlay that we have this week?
All right, I've had a few that I've recommended throughout the week. Go back and look at those if you want those. But this one, Saints minus 5.5.
Okay, like it.
Panthers has gotten bet down to a pick'em. I'm going Panthers side on that one.
Okay.
And then I like the under in the Eagles-Lions.
Not bad.
48.5 is a lot of points for what's going to be a run-heavy game.
It is.
I think that game's going to eat a lot of clock. And when that's the case, I'm always leaning unders in those kind of games.
That's going to be absolute grit. There's no doubt about it. I don't hate those three. That's actually a decent. If you put $5 on it, do you remember what you win? You remember what the payout was?
So 5 to win, just over 30.
Okay, so you put $5 down, you win $30. Well, I'm going a little crazier here for mine. I picked some higher odds bets here. But if we hit it, baby, we're starting week one off right. The first one that I have, first leg of the parlay, I've talked about it all week. I actually really like this one. I like the Raiders, and I like them getting the 3.5 points, but I don't hate them to win. I don't hate them to win this game. So I got them in the money lines, divisional game. I feel like anything can happen, especially with the J.C. Jackson injury.
And it's like a home game there, right? It's a home game out in L.A.
It's true. I'm right.
Like, you're not the fan base, yeah.
Right. And so
because the fucking Rams had to go silent count yesterday.
Oh, Bills Mafia. That's out in full force. Salute emoji straight to him. Patriots money line. Look, if I got to bet against an underdog, I'm gonna bet against Bill Belichick being an underdog, you know? So, again, divisional game. He knows his team really well. I think he's had a ton of time to scheme up for what the Miami Dolphins might be bringing to the table. So, I got the Pats on the money line. And then this is the easy one. I've been talking about this all week as well. Bucks-Cowboys. I mentioned it as my 4th of July game, the one where I think we're going to see a lot of points, 2 potent offenses that are going to keep it together. So, that one's a little bit more favorable. That's minus 110. But if you put $5 on this at BetMGM, you get 60. You get 60. That's a free meal. That's some free drinks. That's a damn good weekend. So that's $5 Fridays. We would love for you guys to get in on $5 Fridays as well. We'd love for you guys to have your 3-leg parlays when we get to the segment at the end of every week. And a good way to be able to do that is if you go download the PFF app. Because if you have an Apple device right now, you can go to the App Store, Pro Football Focus PFF, go check it out. You can download it and see everything that you want. I know we just talked fantasy as well. You can see all of the fantasy advice that we have, all of our fantasy tools to set the best lineup. You see the betting tab there too. Betting, it'll make you a smarter better. You can see the PFF green line, what lines we like, which lines we'd want you to stay away from, all of that. You can see it right on your phone. Don't even have to get out your laptop to go to pff.com. It is in the power of the palm of your hand if you just go download the PFF app right now. Oh, if you give us a 5-star review, tell us who you think is going to win the Super Bowl. Read it on the show. So that's a good way to get in on the show as well. Mike, that was a fun. You know what? If that's how we're coming out of the gate with actual football to talk about, I'm excited for this season. It feels great.
It does feel great to talk actual football and say things that are happening on the football field, not what we think is going to happen. Because we could say what we think is going to happen all day, but we realistically, no one can fucking know what's going to happen. The future is difficult to predict. But when I see something,
except my parlay.
I can tell you what happened. I can tell you what happened to the cows come home.
Right. And that's what Monday's going to be about. That's what Tuesdays are going to be about. That's what this entire show is going to be about. Because the title, it's just football. We're going to have a lot of fun with you guys this season. Thank you so much for watching the first week of the show. We appreciate you guys being extremely active in the chat. Y'all were going crazy today. That was great. I want to get you guys even more involved in the show as we kind of go on with things here. But enjoy the weekend. Don't just enjoy the NFL. Enjoy college football slate that we see on Saturday as well. Mike and I will be back with you at 11 a.m. Monday morning to talk and recap all the best sights, sounds, and stats. You guys have a good weekend. We'll see you then.
It's not about politics, it's about football.
This is a simple game.
We're going to run the ball, and we're going to pass the ball. He's just going to play football, really.
How good of a football player are you?
Not just get in and try to spin it. That's all.
I just love the game.
It really is the best time of the year.